It was the day after graduation when my mom and her boyfriend told me that, now that I was an adult, I had to move out and find my own place. Although unexpected, my relationship with my mom changed drastically when her new boyfriend moved in. I tried to make a good impression because I wanted her to be happy, but the guy seemed to have an issue with me. He convinced my mom to start charging me rent because I had a part-time job while still in school, even though he was jobless and living off my mom. He would go into my room, go through my stuff, and use some of my things without my permission. He even broke my laptop after using it without asking. But my mom saw nothing wrong with his behavior and always took his side. She would yell at me whenever I complained about how I didn't like him invading my privacy. He seemed very pleased with himself when my mom kicked me out. I didn't have enough to get a place, so I survived by sleeping on friends' couches as much as I could, until they got tired of me. Sometimes I had to sleep outside. Thankfully, I was able to obtain a second job through someone I knew, and I was able to save up. I moved into a new place at the beginning of this month, after months of not having anywhere to call home. A few days ago, my mom's boyfriend reached out to me. Apparently, my mom had a stroke, and he tried guilting me into moving back to help her out because he got a job opportunity and had to move. I declined and told him that, unfortunately, I'm too busy trying to be an adult, and it doesn't look like I can take time off that schedule to do that, then hung up. Am I the idiot for not wanting to go back home to take care of my sick mom after she and her boyfriend kicked me out? I was so focused on surviving that I didn't even think of blocking them. I also had a bit of hope in the beginning that maybe she would change her mind and tell me I could come back, but she never did. They never contacted me until now. Your mom kicked you out. It's quite hard to get over that. It sucks when your mom gets to reap what she sowed. Clap, clap, clap. It's consequences. Good for you. I'm sure your mom's boyfriend will take care of her, though, even though he would have to bring her with him when he moves for his great new job. You are not the idiot. Your mom clarified where her priorities are and where yours should be. Please don't feel guilty now that she's had a stroke. She should have ensured the guy she was banking on was a decent dude before leaving her child out in the cold. This is a sad lesson to teach a young person. Parents are supposed to be more supportive. I wouldn't lift a finger for her. Don't move back. But bluntly, she's shown she wouldn't do it for you. Don't treat people like family. You don't treat yourself like family. Your mother's boyfriend moved into what he saw as an almost perfect situation. The only issue was you, so he got your mother to get rid of you. Now, his perfect situation is blown up by your mother's health, so he's looking to dump her on someone else. Your mother brought this on herself many times over, and now the consequences of her reprehensible actions have caught up with her. Yep, he's just going to move on to his next victim, regardless of taking care of her. This dude will just straight up disappear and leave her for dead. He's not going to care for OP's mom himself. He has this new job pop up at a convenient time to leave her behind. I can't say she doesn't deserve it. I'm a 30-year-old male working in a physically demanding field. My coworkers and I are all fit people without a lot of body type variety. My wife, 29, is fat. The thing is, she's always been overweight the whole time I've known her. We dated when she was fat. We got married when she was fat. And she knows she's fat. She's overweight, and she's beautiful. I'm happy if she loses weight, and I'm happy if she stays where she is. I think she's the most beautiful woman in the world as is. One of my coworkers, Linda, 28, female, started complaining that she's too fat to be loved, and that fat people don't get to be loved. Linda isn't fat. She's maybe 120 to 130 pounds. She works out 5 times a week and barely ever eats. I told her that wasn't true and that my wife was fat. She got red in the face and started telling me that I wasn't allowed to call my wife fat, that I was insulting her, and that my wife was beautiful and curvy. Carol doesn't like being called curvy. She thinks it's a label used to avoid calling people fat because it's a dirty word to most people. I told Linda as much. Linda started threatening to tell my wife I called her fat. She pulled up her Instagram and told me she was messaging Carol and that I was being mean. I beat her to the punch and called my wife. I put her on speaker and asked if she was curvy or fat. Carol laughed and said, "I hate that curvy crap, fat and beautiful baby." I thanked her, told her I loved her, and hung up. As soon as I hit the end, Linda went mental. She started screaming that I was abusing my wife. When I asked how, she said I was brainwashing her into accepting the term fat to try to keep her complacent and from getting away from me. That no woman in her right mind could be okay with their husband calling them fat. Now, I just walked in today to an email from HR requesting a meeting with me. I don't think it's a big deal. I have my wife's blog for fat positivity, and I can easily call her for proof. But now, things are frigid at work, and Linda constantly gives me dirty looks when we're in the same room. She ignores me otherwise, so I'm just over here scratching my head. Am I the idiot for calling my wife fat? Are you kidding me? What could Linda possibly report to HR? Harassing your wife, who doesn't work with you. What you say to your wife is no one's damn business. Tell Linda to stay out of your personal life. You should finally complain against Linda for creating a hostile work environment. You're not the idiot, and your wife sounds awesome. Linda should get a better hottie because she sucked at fishing for compliments and was shocked when she didn't receive one. Good luck with HR. Fat is not a protected class outside of Michigan. You didn't call Linda fat, and your wife isn't a coworker. I'm not a lawyer, but you would probably have a valid suit for wrongful termination should it come to that. You should complain about Linda, though, for creating a toxic work environment. I hate when women throw out lines like that. As a woman, if one of my friends repeats those lines over and over, I'm so ugly. At a point, I just agree with them. Like, yeah, you are incredibly ugly. It usually snaps them right out of it. I understand if someone's having a rough day and just needs a pick-me-up, but repetitive comments are annoying, or obvious ones, such as in OP's case. Obviously, someone who's 120 elves is not fat unless they're like 3 feet tall. Wow, Linda is being overbearing and insecure. I wonder why she can't get anyone to date her. Yeah, it totally sounds like it's her perfectly normal body type that is incredibly off-putting, not her bizarre hair-trigger personality. I, a 33-year-old male, was raised by my sister, sort of. I lived with my mom until I was 8, at which point my grandmother became ill. My mom had me and my brother, who was 11, stay with my sister, who was 22 at the time, while she went and took care of her mom. She returned 3 years later, but my brother and I stayed with my sister because my mom didn't have a big enough place. She still visited often, but I still lived with my sister. When I met my wife when I was 23, I love my mom. She's a fantastic woman, but from an outsider's perspective, she abandoned me, had no hand in raising me, and relied on others to do her job. A part of me can understand where others are coming from, but a bigger part of me sees why she did what she did. However, my wife is the opposite. She sees my mom as neglecting her duties as a parent and finds it especially bothersome when my mom comes to visit because my mom will offer advice on raising our kids, which makes my wife angry. She says she needs to stay in her lane considering she didn't even raise her own kids. I agree that she needs to stay in her own lane, and I have zero problems telling her as much, but saying she didn't have any part in raising her own kids is just foolish. She was still around. We just didn't live with her or go stay the night with her. My wife now had a bad upbringing. She's the oldest out of 6 kids. I'm the youngest of 4. She was made to parent her siblings while her mom worked, and by the time she hit 15, she had to get a job to help with the bills. She held a lot of animosity against her own mother for taking away from her childhood, and this is the reason why she hates my mother. She said what my mother did was worst because my mother dropped me off on my sister's doorstep and didn't come around at all for 3 years, and then still didn't take me back when she could have. At least her mom making her get a job or having her help raise the kids didn't leave the home. Her mom was always there. So, for whatever reason, She thinks what my mom did was worse, even though she still has ill blood with her own mother for what she did. She says that she feels sorry for my sister, who had her young adult life stripped and her marriage because of my mom. My sister had just gotten married when my mom had to stay with her, and they ended up divorcing a year later because he never signed up to have kids. Now, I have 2 stepkids, and this is where the fight started. Yesterday, I asked my wife if she could have her mom take the kids for 1 or 2 weeks so we could get a break, because lately the kids have been off the walls, and I could just really use a breather. She said, "Yeah, that's not going to happen. You don't pawn your kids off on someone else when you're a parent." So I told her that we could use a break, not just me, and that it would benefit all of us. She says, "Listen, I know that your mother has made you feel like someone else taking your kids for long periods is normal, but it's not normal. And no, I will not be making my mom take my kids so you don't have to deal with them." So I snapped and told her to shut the heck up about my mother. She said, "Truth hurts, ha. Tell me to shut up one more time, and you'll be out of this house." Am I the idiot for telling her to shut up and stop talking about my mom? Edit. My wife doesn't bring my mom up randomly. She only starts complaining about her when my mom tries to parent the kids, or when I suggest the kids go to her mom's for a bit. However, we just had a baby, and my mom has been super overbearing with parenting tips, so my wife has been losing her cool more often than not, and I do tell my mom to stop. I tell her we're following our own advice, and I appreciate her input, but it's not necessary. So it's not like I don't defend the situation. I don't want the baby to go to her mom's, just the older 2 kids, so we can catch a breather. My wife has been in therapy twice a week since I met her and has since gained a kick-butt relationship with her mom while still recognizing what her mom did was messed up. She says that my inability to see what my mom did as messed up is significantly affecting the man I am today because I make excuses for my mom's bad behavior, like her trying to push us to use the cry-it-out method because she feels like our baby is manipulating us. As I've said, I shut my mom down. I acknowledge her advice and then tell her, "Thanks, but we don't believe in that." I don't know what else my wife expects me to do because I am handling it, but she thinks I need to go to therapy so I can take the wool off my eyes and stop putting Mommy Dearest on a pedestal. She says my sister, whom I don't get along with, deserves the praise and respect, not my mother. But regardless, I love my mom, and I think she's a kick-butt woman, and I don't feel she deserves the BS. My wife, as an aside, dude, I walked into church the other day with my 4 teenagers in tow. Some dads decided to give me parenting advice. One of his kids is in rehab for the 4th time, and the other is having her 2nd baby at 19. I promptly told him to go screw himself. That's how your wife feels when your mom gives parenting advice. You are the idiot. Your wife needs to shut up. She's complaining. The ones complaining are your mom and you. You and your wife are raising the kids. Your mom needs to stop complaining. And if you didn't want to have kids, you shouldn't have them. But to have 3 kids and then want to drop them off somewhere for 3 weeks because you need a break, that's weird. Other people are responsible for your kids for about a weekend, so that's the break you could get. Yes, Mommy's little soldier, you are the idiot. You seem desperate for Mom's approval, yet you don't want it to look that way. You admit your mother constantly crosses boundaries set by both you and your wife by giving multiple pieces of advice. No one wants to hear from a woman who is never a mother of the year. Yet you yell at your stressed, exhausted, postpartum wife to shut the heck up about her. Seriously, you are the idiot, big time. Live in denial if you want to, but your wife sees your sister's perspective on your childhood and realizes better than you knew how exactly much harm your mother caused you and your siblings. And this outrageous woman dares to even give more than one piece of advice about raising kids after being told multiple times to keep them to herself. Wow, just wow. Let's also keep in mind that the wife has already raised 2 kids, and yet the mother-in-law seems to need to give advice. Awful. Oh, And keep in mind, the woman who actually raised OP and siblings, their sister, also sided with OP's wife. This dude has absolutely no basis for his complaints. My daughter's in grammar school, and for the past month, there's been a boy who's been badly bullying her. It's got to the point where she said she doesn't want to go to school. The school's done an okay job of dealing with it, but the boy's mom has been very uncooperative and taken her son's side. On the 2 times I've talked to her about it on the phone, she was extremely nasty, and the last time she even screamed and cussed at me. My daughter's been going to school with this boy since kindergarten, and up until very recently, I was under the impression he didn't have a dad either. He was out of the picture or deceased. The school rosters only list his mom's name and info, and I've never seen his dad at any school events. My daughter says she's never heard him talk about her dad. But a week ago, I found out he actually goes to his dad's house on weekends, and his dad and all his extended relatives on that side live in a small rural community about 45 minutes away. I asked a friend if they knew anything about the dad, and apparently the parents divorced the year before he started kindergarten. This friend told me the mom has referred to her ex as a narcissist and abusive, and that she had a restraining order against him for several years. She also told me she heard from a staff member that the mom specifically requested that the office and all her son's teachers never contact his dad over the weekend. I did some snooping on social media, and some of those people searched sites and found out his dad's name and contact info. Today at school, my daughter's bully shoved her on the playground and was sent to the nurse's office as a result. I gave his dad a call and told him about what had happened that day and about the bullying that had been going on. I didn't say anything negative about his ex-wife or how she dealt with the bullying. His dad, despite what I heard, actually seemed very nice. He was very apologetic and assured me that there would be major consequences that weekend and that it wouldn't happen again. I had an excellent feeling after getting off the phone with him that action would be taken, unlike with Mom. A few hours later, I got a furious text from my son's bully's mom. She said that her ex made a nasty call to his son right after my call, screaming at him, cursing up a storm, calling him names, and making all sorts of threats about how horrible the coming weekend would be. She says he followed up by sending her an abusive text, calling her names, and accusing her of being a bad mom and letting their son be a bully. He told her he was going to post about her on social media to expose what a terrible mother she is. She said she knows her ex's family will start harassing her now as well. She said, "I had no right to contact her ex." She ended by saying, "Thank you for all the drama and pain you have brought into our family's lives. Was I an idiot for contacting this parent? Thank you for all the drama and pain you have brought into our family's lives. You're welcome. Maybe next time you won't ignore complaints about your son. You are not the idiot. If she can't handle her son, give him to someone who will actually educate him." Oh no, he's accusing her of being a bad mom and letting their son be a bully. I mean, how is he wrong? If she had bothered doing anything about her kid being an abusive little idiot, then OP wouldn't have needed to contact the other parent. Okay, but if his dad really is abusive and a narcissist, OP just put that kid in actual danger. Narcissists have a habit of being charming to strangers and abusive to those immediately close to them. And if the mom really did have a restraining order, I'm inclined to believe there's at least some truth to these accusations, based on the fact that the other mother was a major "see you next Tuesday," nasty, and verbally abusive to OP. She called her names and didn't care that her son was viciously bullying OP's daughter. I have a feeling that she's full of crap. I don't care about her family dynamics, especially if she doesn't give a crap about stopping her kid from bullying OP. You need to protect your daughter.